Hello everybody, welcome back. Episode 13 of New Mexico is a Basketball State podcast, hosted by me, Russell Lee Gurule. And I want to thank everybody for coming back and watching these podcasts. It's a lot of fun for me, and I hope it is for you too. And so we're going to go over 5A and 4A basketball. I'm going to explain some things that just recently happened as far as Facebook and Instagram. My pages, they were taken down. They were... somebody nefariously went in there and took over those accounts, and I haven't been able to get them back, and maybe I get them back, maybe I don't, but I will, I'll explain that in the second take and explain what exactly happened there, maybe give some tips to you so it doesn't happen to you, and how Facebook and Instagram has actually treated it, because it hasn't been that great of an experience. So it's kind of taken me my focus off the season a little bit from, just focusing primarily on the season, and now I have to focus on that. So it hasn't been too fun these last couple of weeks. But anyways, I'm going to get into this basketball season because it's an exciting one. Las Cruces is still undefeated, 20-0. Nobody is stopping them right now. Their last game against Mayfield, they won by 27 points. William Deuce Benjamin has been a general out there, and he's well on his way to being Player of the Year. And somebody asked me today if he's been getting any offers, and unfortunately, from what I understand, he hasn't. I haven't heard anything, and it's a shame, because he's definitely somebody who's really earning the notoriety, somebody who can play at the next level. UNM doesn't seem to have any interest right now, or if they ever did, who knows. The thing is that he's gotten some interest from UTEP and New Mexico State and Florida International, from what I understand, and Colorado showed a little bit of interest. But it's a shame that he's not getting the interest here in the state like he should, because he's doing really, really well. He's shooting from long range, he's getting to the rim, he's throwing it down, and Isaiah Carr has just been fabulous. Those two right there, you could call them both Player of the Year if you wanted to, because they've both been doing really well. Deuce Benjamin's doing about 22 points a game, 23 points a game, and Isaiah Carr's at 18, and he's blocking everything. And so that team is very difficult to beat right now, and they're on that other level. And so we're watching this till the end. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they get to the state title game, which I believe they will. And it looks to me like they're the front runners, and it looks to me like they can definitely do this. Undefeated. That's the goal right now, the revenge tour, as they say. Now, there's another team that can definitely give them some problems, that's come the closest, and that's Hobbs. Hobbs has been doing really well, and I have seen Hobbs play in person, and they are a very smart team, a scrappy bunch, coached really well, and they're able to get points through many different situations, and they do really well at that. And their only losses have been to Odessa Permian by 2 points and Las Cruces by 13 or 15 points. Now, some people are saying, oh, well, that's not a preview of the state title game. Well, I think it could very well be, okay? It could very well be, along with, of course, Volcano Vista, who's been undefeated, and they're rolling too. In fact, I'm going to look at my sheet here. They're at 18-0. Hobbs is 19-2. And Las Cruces, like I said, is 20-0. Okay, if you wanted to say any one of those three right there can be in the state title game. Easy. That's a preview. I'm sorry, but it is. Don't say no if you haven't seen them play in person. That's all I'm saying. Get in the car, drive out there to Hobbs or wherever they're playing and watch them play, because they're a good team. Hobbs is a very good team. That's all I got to say about it. That's where I'm coming from with that. But there's another team that's very solid that could also be there for sure, and that's Atrisco. Atrisco has been doing really well. Even after Coach Ortega has retired and moved on, they're still on a roll. And I got to look at their record too real quick, but they're 15-2. 4-game win streak. And they lost to Volcano Vista, but they didn't have Kobe Wade, their big star, and Chris Parra. They didn't have those two. But now that they have those guys, and from what I understand, Kobe Wade's back. Now Chris Parra, I'm not sure. They were dealing with some injuries. But if they get the full team, the full squad going, they could easily be in that state title game also. They're doing really, really well. And so the way I see it, it's those 4 right there. Las Cruces at 1, Hobbs at 2, Volcano Vista at 3, or you could flip Hobbs and Volcano Vista. They're all right there together along with Atrisco Heritage. Now La Cueva, like I've said before in other episodes, just needs to mature, but they're nipping at their heels. They are a solid group too. And Exodus Ayers is doing really well for La Cueva, and Cedarius Yates, and Daniel Jacobson is really developing nicely. And so they have a really nice team. And when you back to Hobbs, I got to mention this about them. To go back to Hobbs, because I forgot this. Jalen Gore and Aaron Mora, their 2 stars, are averaging 19 points apiece, and they are doing really, really well. And that's what makes them a real threat, along with let me look at my sheet here, along with Volcano Vista. See, there's so much to remember. Volcano Vista with Jaquan Hill and Caden Valdez. And Caden Valdez is somebody we haven't talked about enough. He's scoring from the outside. He's getting it done in the inside. He's a big key to their success this year, along with Sean Alter, their big man, who's been doing gangbusters. So these 3 right here are making Volcano Vista undefeated right now, and they can potentially give Cruces all they want. And that's the same goes with those other 3. Hobbs, Atrisco, and we'll throw La Cueva in there. La Cueva just needs to keep maturing. I think they're almost there to do that. And that's what's really exciting about this top 5 that we're seeing develop. They're not losing games. La Cueva they've only lost 2 games. Anybody else that you can consider is Rio Rancho, who's a dark horse, and I'm looking at this right now at the records at 12-6. Keegan Caton is doing really nice for them, averaging 17 points a game. And they had a tough, brutal schedule. They played some Texas teams out of Amarillo, and now they're beginning to get on a roll. These guys just recently had 1 loss, but now they're definitely a threat to get in there and possibly sneak in there. They have the height and the size to do it, along with Jaden Johnson to go complement Keegan Caton. They are definitely a team to watch for sure. And Sandia, we got to talk about Sandia right now. 6 wins in a row. They're playing tonight as I film this. They're playing La Cueva, actually. So if they can win tonight against La Cueva, they'll turn some heads in the basketball community. Sean Johnson is he's the multiplier. He's the factor, the X factor for this squad. They were struggling to get buckets earlier, but now with Sean, they're getting open shots and they're getting good looks and they're running the break really well. So this is exciting to see with him back in the game and doing some things. So Sandia, if they run the district, they can definitely get in there and be a dark horse. Carlsbad's another one that's only lost 3 games. They've got, let me look here real quick, 18 wins. They are definitely a threat to be there also. So you're looking right there at your top 8 seeds. You're looking at some solid ball clubs that have less than 5 losses apiece, discounting Rio Rancho. But, we still got a month of basketball to play. So we'll see how this all plays out in the next month in district. But another one to look at is Los Lunas. Jalen Holland of Los Lunas is this player, like I told a colleague of mine, he's got this wow factor. Just it's almost there to where he's going to be a guy that we're going to talk about, top 10 type player here in the state of New Mexico for sure. And they're winning some games now. They beat Santa Fe and they beat Carlsbad. So they're now beginning to do some things. They've played a brutal schedule themselves. They've played Hobbs and Cleveland and a few others. And now they're beginning to get on a roll. they are going to be a tough team to deal with by the end of February when it comes March and it comes state tournament time. So Jalen Holland's definitely a name to remember on that squad, and Los Lunas is definitely a team to take a look at once we get to March. And, as I'm going to look through here a little bit more and see if there's anything else I want to touch upon, as far as the season goes. And, Farmington, I got to mention them. Farmington's got a nice record. They did lose to El Dorado the other night. They're another team that could surprise. I'll say they could surprise. I saw them earlier at the beginning of the season. They look like a well-balanced club, and we'll have to see district play how they perform and see where they're at and see how they can compete. I mean, because there are some teams that have some really nice records, but there's still some question marks. For me, it's still kind of a question mark as far as Farmington's concerned, but they're having one of the better seasons I've seen from them in years. So they're really doing nice. Cody Vasserstein is leading that team, and he's doing really nice, and he's definitely somebody we're going to talk about next season, because I think he's going to get better and better and better as things go. He's only a sophomore, so that's exciting to see. And Cleveland right now, Cleveland is having a down year. It's tough for them right now. They're at 500 right now. They just need to have something break for them. Cole Savage is leading that group with Antonio Avila, Elijah Brody, and Daniel Steverson, who's averaging 15 points a game as a sophomore. I mean, he's looking nice. He's another one that's, I would say, is going to end up in that top 10, best players in the state of New Mexico pretty soon. He's getting close, just like Jalen Holland, to that wow factor. Definitely a really nice player to watch. And then, Centennial is another one from Cruces that's done okay. They're doing right now about 500, but Javen Beltran of Las Cruces has been so consistent this year and is just getting buckets every time out, and he's averaging 17 points a game for them, and that's really nice to see. And he's getting a few looks from different colleges in the D2, D3 section, so we'll have to see if they're able to do well in district, because they're not going to win it, okay? They're not going to beat Cruces. That's Mayfield's not going to do it either. And that's where it comes down to. I mean, Cruces is going to dominate that district right now. Las Cruces is just rolling right now with those guys. So as we keep going through here, I'm seeing any other things I want to touch upon. And I want to mention this one young player, because I think he's the best kept secret in the state of New Mexico right now. I mean, there's a few others that you could say are the best kept secret, but this guy, you're really going to know about him next season. He's already building a nice resume. His name is Caleb Parham of El Dorado, 6'2", gets to the rack, has a nice mid-range game, and it looks to me, after doing a highlight video, it looks to me like he's around 35, 40-inch vertical. I mean, that's what it's looking like. And he's an exciting player to watch over there at El Dorado. And he's one that I think could have a big summer and really go, gangbusters next season. He's one that we'll definitely really start talking about, along with Jalen Holland, Jaden Johnson, the nice lefty from Rio Rancho, and the other one that I was just recently mentioned, Cody Vasserstein and Daniel Steverson. These are all guys that are moving on up, and they're getting to that level where we're really starting to talk about them and get excited about them. Players that we want to watch. But right now, the top guys in 5A are William Deuce, Benjamin, Isaiah Carr, Jalen Gore, Aaron Mora. I mean, they're just tearing it up. They're just putting in performance after performance, consistency. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I'm going to look at the top 5 scoring right now. And, Keegan Caton of Rio Rancho. And as I mentioned, Javen Beltran. And Anthony Alvarez. Anthony, like I said, is one that you're definitely going to learn about. Capitals Anthony Alvarez, and he's doing it. he's getting 19 points a game right now. He's doing solid numbers for them. And Brandon Keyres of Oregon Mountain is getting in there at 15. And Eli Lovato of Sandia, who's running with Sean Johnson, 15 points a game. I mean, these guys are doing well. Kai Brickman of Alamogordo, the sophomore, a really nice outside shooter. He's in there at 12. So these guys are moving on up, and they're making a name for themselves. So these are definitely players to watch in 5A. So now I'm going to move to 4A. I mean, there's so much I could talk about, but this would be an hour-long show of just this. So we're going to move to 4A here. I'm going to look at my sheet here at these records. And of course, Silver is at the top at 18-2. They have a 5-game winning streak right now. And looking at their schedule, it looks like they could run the table and and win all the rest of their games. That's what it looks like to me. But it's hard to tell they're kind of like Farmington. It's hard to tell how good they really are. They've played nothing but Arizona schools, basically. Last time I talked about them, about episode 11, I believe they played 6 or 7 Arizona schools, and they've been able to beat them all. And excuse me. So it's kind of I have to see more to really get an idea of what Silver's going to do and how they're going to do it, because they haven't really played anybody inside the state. They did beat Deming, a 5A school, which was a nice win. But as of right now, it's kind of a wait and see for me as to what they are. And then my next one, I got to talk about Taos, okay? And I want to say this. Taos, thank you for tagging me on Instagram. I'm sorry that my Instagram's gone, but I really appreciate you tagging me, and I've seen you twice. You have a really nice group. You started Damian Eli at 6'6", and then you have another nice young player at 6'5", Anthony Padilla, and you're doing really, really well with 14 wins right now, 5-game winning streak. You look really solid. Damian Eli is just really controlling the paint. He's very flexible. He's doing some nice things inside the paint. And Anthony Padilla is shooting well from outside. And Taos, the Tigers are they seem like a very smart ball club, a lot of backdoor play. They seem to run the break really well. They seem to do things smart. They seem to be able to pick up their defensive intensity at times to grab that lead and hold on to it, and they're able to close the door to finish games off. And so that's why they're 14-4. So they're definitely somebody to look at as far as the state title game. Now the next one, Espanola Valley, 14-5. Last time I talked about him in episode 12, they had Ollie Fell, who's at 6'6". Now, I don't know the situation here, but apparently Ollie Fell has left that team, and he's playing for ABC Prep now, who's in the grind session. So they took a considerable loss, but they're still playing well. They have a 3-game win streak. They're still a senior-laden ball club, and they're doing they're doing well still. They haven't missed a beat really, and they're definitely another team that, like I said in the beginning in episode 11, hey, this team is definitely one that could end up in the state final because of all that experience that they have, and it's definitely a team to check out, and I think they'll do well because they're adjusting, and it looks like they are. So it's just a matter of how well they do in district play and seeding right now for them. I don't think they're going to really miss a beat. So Espanola Valley is definitely one that we got to keep an eye on still. I don't think they're going to drop as far as losing Ollie Fell. It is a loss, but still, I think they're going to do well. And then Highland. Highland right now is as I'm filming this, is playing St. Pius X. And St. Pius X falls into that category with Silver and Farmington. You're kind of wondering how they're going to play out. You're kind of wondering what they're going to do. They're 11-4 right now, and as I'm filming this, they're down by Highland by a considerable bunch. So it's for me a wait and see how well they do in district, because they have Belen and Highland in that district. So we'll see how they play out and how they compete against those teams and whether they get the W's or not. But the main team I want to talk about here is Highland at 11-3, 4-game win streak. Jose Murillo is doing everything. They got a big lineup. They've got Fernando Hernandez at 6'5", and Gustavo de Ayola, I think is how I pronounce his name. He's at 6'5" also. And they have Alexis Dominguez, who is the point guard, who's doing really well and shoots really well from the outside. And the last game I saw them was against Belen, which also had a very big lineup. And I was impressed with their defense, because I think it's the best defense I've seen them play in a couple years, to be honest with you. I mean, that second half that they played against Belen, where they took them to overtime and they won by 1 point, was really impressive, the way they played defense and how they closed the game out. And so if they play like that the rest of the way, Highland is definitely, I would say, top 1, 2, 3, or 4 in that. They already are, but I would say that they could definitely be in the state title game if they continue, as long as Jose Murillo is there. And if he can expand his game offensively outside of 3, 4, 5 feet, the sky's the limit for him. It really is the sky. I mean, the sky's all that's left for him as far as a player is concerned, and he'll definitely be somebody that college coaches will want to look at some even more closely. Right now he has an offer from Eastern New Mexico, so we'll see what happens there, if he takes that offer or not. But another team that has been 500 ball right now, or they were 500 ball is what I should say, and I gotta look at their win streak because it's 4 games right now, and that's Del Norte. And they were my number 1 pick to repeat as state champions, because they won the state title in the Let Them Play season, but they didn't have Shane Domas Sanchez. Well, guess what? He's back. He's back, and he looks pretty good, and it's just a matter of him getting into the rhythm and getting the mojo of the season, and getting the touches and getting the feel of the game and the speed again, because he hadn't played in almost a year because of an injury. But Judah Casas has been holding the fort, averaging 17 points a game. And they also have Harrison Frank, who was playing for Los Alamos, and he was averaging 16 points for Los Alamos. And that was one of the reasons I had picked Los Alamos at the preseason, before I found out he had transferred to Del Norte. But the thing is this, those two, Judah Casas and Shane Domas Sanchez, have already transformed that team, and they have already become a threat right now in that district to win it all, that district, and they're just seem like gangbusters. The other night they beat Valley, and they beat them fairly convincingly from what it sounds like. I wasn't at the game, so I don't know, but that's definitely a team that we have got to watch out for, that I think is going to uphold that pick I had them at. And unfortunately, for my other picks, Los Alamos, I'm going to tell you right now, they're 500 ball, and they're struggling. It's just what it is. I thought they would do better, but they're just struggling right now. And my other pick was Gallup, and they're struggling. It happens. It happens. You can only go off of the information that you have at the time. And those two are not doing so great right now. I mean, Los Alamos could do well in district and get a shot at that state seeding if they can get on a good run. And they got Nico Garcia averaging 14 points a game. So there's a possibility that they could get hot and run the table and possibly get in there. But as of right now, they're with a lot of schools that are around the 500 range as I'm looking through the standings here. And Gallup has got a long way to go to climb. But with Cohen out of Zune, anything's possible. They could get on a hot streak, and maybe a few things go their way that are out of their control that happen, and maybe they can sneak in there. But as of right now, it doesn't quite look like it's going to happen. But we'll see. I mean, we still got a month of basketball to play. So as far as things go, I got to mention Lovington, and I haven't talked about Berlin yet. Lovington is 13-5, and they've always played the Eastern New Mexico schools like Roswell, and they play Carlsbad and people like that, and they're looking solid again this year, and we should definitely keep an eye for them. And I believe they have a top scorer, which I'm going to look at here on my list here, if I'm not mistaken. Tayden Hilliard is averaging 16 points a game for them. So Tayden Hilliard, I have not seen him play, by the way. So I'm just going to say, hey, keep an eye for him, because 16 points a game. And let's see how many games that is. You got to look at games too, because sometimes they don't post all the games. Yeah, 15 games. So, you know, he's played 15 games, averaging 16 points. So there's some consistency there. So definitely Lovington is somebody to keep an eye on. 2-game winning streak. You know, that's all you can hope for. And so it looks to me like those guys are in the running for a seed in the state tournament. Now, Berlin has looked pretty solid. They are very big. They just got to shoot outside. They got to do it well. And they're right now at 12-6. And they have Daniel Corrales at 6'6", who's a really, really strong, solid player who makes a big difference. Now, he struggled against Jose Murillo, but everybody does. So that's what it comes down to, except for maybe Isaiah Carr at Las Cruces, or maybe Sean Alter. But even Sean Alter would probably have problems with Jose Murillo. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So, excuse me. So, Berlin, with this big lineup, has been a problem for everybody in 4A. And they're another one that if they can shoot well outside, they can definitely get there. They just need to do that well in order to really open things up for them. But they're definitely a team that could be there come March. So, with that being said, I'm going to go to my next topics. I think I've covered just about everything I wanted to cover as far as this last month is concerned, since I last did the 12th episode. Not much has changed. Everybody has stayed the same. You know, in 5A, you see these teams with 15 plus wins, less than 5 losses, and so it's holding the form right now. And then you see a lot of teams that are at 500 ball right now, and I guess it's just a matter of needing one more player, or just getting hot, or it was injuries. So you got your dark horses in 5A, and in 4A, your dark horses I would consider Sandia in 5A, and Los Lunas in 5A, and then you would look at Del Norte as a dark horse right now, given their record, because they started the season and had a few setbacks. So I consider them a dark horse, and I would look at St. Pius X as a dark horse, possibly more than that, if they can, you know, do well in their district against Berlin and against Highland. You know, you could look at Academy too. You could throw them in there at 9-5. Academy has looked better than I've seen them in a couple years. They look a lot better now than what they have in the past. So they're definitely another one to watch for. Artesia, Goddard, Grants, all these schools are around 500, and then you got a couple down here, as I'm looking at this, that aren't even above 5 wins, that are just having a rough go of it right now. And so that, you know, you got one here with 8-game losing streak. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Maybe they just weren't ready for a season after being off for a year, basically. And the Let Them Play season was only 10 games, so that could contribute to it also. But, you know, as far as the things go, that's how I'm seeing 4A. You know, I'll put Highland right now at 1. I'll say Taos and Highland, 1A, 1B. I mean, I'll put it at that, and then I'll put Espanola Valley and Berlin and Silver. Yeah, that's what it's looking like right now. And then a few guys that could catch them, like Del Norte. Del Norte, I think maybe in about 2 weeks, would probably be up there, right there with them, the way they're playing now that Shane Domas Sanchez is back. So, you know, I'll put that down, and I'm going to talk about my next topics in the next take. I'm going to talk about the banning of fans recently, and now we're up to 2 fans per game. I'm going to tell you about what happened with Facebook and Instagram and go over that. I'm going to give you my take on all of that in the next one, and I'll even include a little bit of Lobos and Aggies with that take. So it's going to be a little bit of information packed in all together on the second take. So stay tuned for that second take. Okay, so as I was talking about, in the first episode of 4A and 5A, I'm going to tell you what happened on Facebook and Instagram. I had my accounts hacked, and hopefully that doesn't attract all the spammers by just simply using that word, but I'll go ahead and use it. So I was able to recover them, but Facebook and Instagram said I violated community standards, and so I may or may not get them back. So I don't know if I'm on some 30-day suspension or something like that, and I have no idea what standards I violated or what I did. I don't see how basketball pages can violate their standards, but I found out through this experience that they don't have a phone number you can call, and they don't have really any way to get a hold of them, because when somebody gets into your account, they can change everything, your phone number, your email, the whole 9 yards, and then you're done. And the way it works over there is you go to a help center on the page right there, and then you got to follow all these directions and things, and hopefully you get to a point where you can do something about it. But maybe you can't, because if the person who took over your account is good, and they're thieves basically, if they're good and they're thieves and they take it over, you're kind of out of luck, because you won't be able to get to that point where you can take a selfie where they can identify you, as far as the security teams are concerned at Instagram and Facebook. So that's disappointing. It's frustrating the way they have that all set up, because you cannot talk to them in person. You cannot call them or anything. I found one phone number that led you to Nirvana, basically. And it's sad because, if you have a problem with your credit card or something like that, you can call Visa, you can call any one of these other major corporations, and there will be a phone number there, and you can actually talk to somebody. Not with Facebook and Instagram. So I see this as a big potential problem for them, and it kind of shows that they don't really care, okay? So my advice to you is not to sign in with any other accounts with Facebook and Instagram. That's my advice, okay? Because if your accounts get taken over, you may or may not get them back if you cannot get to that selfie function. And I would advise you to take a picture of yourself every couple months and post it, so that you can do that selfie. Because if you don't do that, then they may not be able to identify you based off of the selfie function that they have. I mean, they can give $400 something million to a certain political party, but they can't seem to get a 1-800 number. It's sad. And so I think by the 9th of February, I'll find out if I get those accounts back. I had 1,000 plus followers on Instagram, and I had 400 on Facebook, and I might not see them again. It took 4 years to build that Instagram up, and it could be gone. I mean, I've come to terms with it. I was a little sad when it first happened for the first day, but I got over it, and it's time to move on. Then I started a second Instagram, and that one got taken over too. I go in to log in, and everything's gone. Boom. I was done there too, and I didn't recover that one, and I'm gonna let it go. I'm not even gonna try to get that one back. So it's kind of like right now, I've had all these media accounts, and now I'm down to 2, Twitter and YouTube. So that's me. So if you ever have gotten contacted since after the 4th of January or the 16th of January on the new Instagram, that's not me at all, okay? That is somebody trying to take over your account. Say no and report is what I say. And be careful out there. You know, be diligent. If you get your account taken over, make sure and talk to somebody. And I hope, you know, what's really sad is if you even mention that H word, you'll get all these spammers. So I hope this one doesn't get spammers on it, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's basically what went down. So February 9th, I'll find out if I get it back or not. Based off of their decision, some faceless person in Palo Alto at their headquarters will either decide, or maybe they have already decided, and they won't tell me. You see, and that's another thing. They just won't tell you anything. You're left to just guess at what they're doing over their Facebook. So my advice again would be to have separate passwords for everything, and do not sign in to any other place with Facebook. Just keep them separate, because they are not very good at cybersecurity, in my opinion, and their customer service is terrible. It's just downright terrible right now. They need to do something about it. They have the money. They definitely have the money. They can give $400 million to a political party, but they can't seem to build a call center and train some people with technical expertise to help people with these problems. You know, they're definitely not as professional as somebody like Visa or any of these other major corporations who have a vested interest in you not having your accounts taken over. So, with that being said, be very careful when it comes to Facebook and Instagram. Just be careful, okay? Be cautious, and if it don't feel right and it don't look right, then it probably isn't right. That's all I've got to say about that and what's gone down there. Now, if I don't get it back on the February 9th, I will probably come up with something new, and we'll just start this thing up even more. And I'm also considering some other possibilities too. So it might be a new season, a new direction in how I do things as far as covering basketball in the state of New Mexico. So it has definitely been a change for sure, and an experience. And so maybe it was time to go in a different direction. I don't know. So we'll see how this plays out. So stay tuned for that, whatever I decide to do. So I'm still exploring all kinds of options and looking for some solutions and possibly something better. Now, on to my next thing that I talked about earlier in the first take. This recent banning of fans by APS, and now they're allowing 2 per player, which is something I said they should have done last year during the Let Them Play season. You know, the season where you could go to a Walmart, but you couldn't go to a high school basketball game. And that's where this is kind of troubling to me, because I think every school district outside of Albuquerque has done a marvelous job of dealing with this and still getting fans in the stands. And you know what? Fans are the most important thing besides the players. Okay? That's what it comes down to. I don't see any good reason for the fans not to be there, period, for anything. You know, some people complain about maybe possibly vulgar language, and yeah, I don't condone vulgar language and things like that, or you know, picking on the refs or things like that. Well, you know what? People have been picking on the refs since the 1950s and 40s. Read a book, for crying out loud. Basketball has always been like that. It's even been more intense, and they used to throw things onto the floor. They used to do all kinds of things. Now it's pretty tame compared to the way it was back in the 60s and the 50s and the 70s and things of that nature. So let's do everything we can to get fans in. Let's do everything we can, because they have an emotional investment in the team. Most media people do not have that. They're just there to report the game and whatever, and that's it, okay? You know what? The game will still go on without you. And fans will still be there, and they'll still be emotional, and they'll still be excitable, and they'll still pick on the refs. That's never going to change. That's never going to change. I mean, just look at Twitter, look at Facebook. People go at it all the time. It's part of life. You know, if you focus on the game, you won't hear that stuff. I mean, I never hear anything because I'm so focused on the camera and things like that. But I think we should just open it up just not worry about all this. Okay? We've been through enough as far as things go with the thing. I still call it the thing, and those of you who've been watching the podcast for a while know what I'm talking about. The thing. We've been dealing with this for a long time, and I think it's time to move on. I've been saying that forever. Some people want to hold on to it because maybe it gives them some power, and maybe it makes them feel good about themselves, and makes them think they're a good person, whatever. The point is this. We, as a society, have to get back to normal. We have to find a normal that we can live with, and we have to stop a lot of the stuff that's been going on, this tyranny that's been going on, and the divisiveness that's been going on in our society, in our state. All the other states are open, even with this new V, we'll call it the V, that's showed up. You know, it seems like it's falling from the sky. It's like every time we go through a period, if you noticed, if you pay attention, we go through a period where people aren't sick, or they're not really getting sick, and then bam, all of a sudden everybody's getting sick. It's like it's falling from the sky. You know, I don't know how else to say it. It's just like it ends up somewhere, and then everybody starts catching it. And the thing is there's not much we can do to stop it. From what I can see, no bang bang or being unbang banged is going to do anything with it. You're going to get it no matter what. And the CDC is finally saying natural immunity is the way is there, okay? And if I get shadow banned for that, well, the CDC said it, not me. The CDC said it, and I'll be really annoyed by that. But we need to get the fans in there. These kids need that support. You know, in case we forget, last season we only had 10 games, and I can tell you, because I was there in those gyms, there were no fans in there at all. It was just like a regular pickup game. And it felt like nobody cared. It really did. And it was very frustrating. And those kids lost out on a lot. They lost out on senior prom. They lost out on the experience of people cheering for them. They lost out on all the experiences that you and I have had going through high school. They lost out on that. The class of 2021 lost out on that, and that to me is sad. And we shouldn't put this class through what those kids went through. You know, we shouldn't even think about that. We shouldn't even think about shutting anything down. It's tough enough to compete in a basketball season without outside worries. People are going to get sick, and they're going to get better because this thing has a 99% recovery rate. There's no way around that. That we already know this, and that's where I'm getting at with all of that. So I don't see any reason to ban fans from the stands, and I think we should always have fans in the stands because that's what makes this game great. That's what makes a season great, is fans. You know, in case you forget that, I suggest you look in the mirror and you know, look at what's going on here, and find some direction in this season. You know, find some excitement, because this is what it's all about: is excitement and trying to accomplish and compete and make something happen, something that you can remember for a lifetime. And that's where I'm getting at with this take on that. Hopefully next week, after this podcast airs, next week there will be fans in the stands, and I encourage all of you to fill those gyms up. Okay, that's what I encourage you to do. Just let it go. Just go out there and cheer on these kids, because they need all the support they can get. Now, as far as the Lobos and Aggies, I'll do a quick take on that. Lobos are 7-12 right now, 0-6 in the conference, and attendance is dropping. And I kind of, at the beginning of the year, predicted that they might get to 15 wins. Maybe if the things went their way, maybe 20. I didn't really think they were going to get 20. And they might not even get 15 wins right now. They might not at the rate they're going. And because there was no indication, from Pitino's record that that would happen. He's been a head coach at Minnesota for 8 years and only had one 20-win season. So I didn't really expect him to get 20 wins, to be honest with you, and it's playing out that way, and it might be less than 15. So we'll have to see what happens there with the rest of the conference games, because they still have about 10 or so, I guess, left over. Now, since they've made their mandates, Regent Schwartz, the World Health Organization consultant, who's now a regent here at UNM, made his recommendations. It appears that maybe the attendance has dropped. Maybe it hasn't. Maybe it has to do with losing. Well, probably a lot to do with losing. I mean, I don't really know. It's when the first game before the mandates was 8,100 in attendance, and then it was 8,900 after the mandate, and now it's dropped all the way down to 8,100. So maybe it has a lot to do with losing. I don't know. I'm sure a few people decided not to go because of the mandates and the testing and all that. Because, I mean, who wants to pay $50 for an antigen test at Southwest Labs and still possibly have to do a PCR test to see if you have something or not? I mean, that's what it says on their website. And I've said that in episode 12. So maybe that has a lot to do with it. Maybe not. It's all speculation, but I think it still has to be considered because it definitely does affect things. Because there have been season ticket holders who've said, "Hey, I want my money back. I don't want to play this game," and I do consider it kind of a game because most of the schools outside of this state, I mean, I know the Mountain West has a few that are doing it, but most of them aren't doing it. And college football stadiums were full packed to the brim with fans, and they weren't really doing that stuff either. So, I mean, sooner or later, we're going to have to come to some kind of conclusion on this because it's hurting UNM's bottom line. It really is when you come down to it, the losing and these mandates. And I'm wondering how they're going to handle the state tournament and how that's going to work out because you have to have one 24 hours in advance and the state tournament's 4 days in a row. So how does that work? Nobody's really said anything about that as far as I know. So we'll see how that plays out and we'll see how many people show up because of that. So that's my thing on UNM. I don't see them winning any more games, and I don't think you're really excited about this team or this coach. I mean, I know some of you are. Jalen House, I love him as a player, and Jamal Mashburn are really nice, and they had another player have a nice game the other day. Tovar, I believe is his name. I haven't really been following, and we'll see how we'll see if they can recover during the conference, and maybe they get a few upsets in the WAC tournament, in the Mountain West tournament. Maybe. Now I'm going to move on to the Aggies. The Aggies are going in a different direction. I believe they're 16-2 now, and they're winning some ball games. They have one more year in the WAC, if I understand correctly. Somebody will let me know on that one before they move to Conference USA. But I frankly am excited for them moving to Conference USA, playing UTEP as a conference rival, and possibly gaining some rivals in University of Texas San Antonio and a few others, because I think that they could definitely really create some excitement down there. The sun is shining a little brighter in Las Cruces because of this move, and I think it's going to really improve their athletic department, and I think it's a great move. So they're definitely going on the way up. I wish they would recruit more New Mexico kids, because UNM football is doing that quite a bit, but basketball-wise, they're not. But Aggies, you gave an offer to William Deuce Benjamin. We'll see if he takes it. But there's other kids in this state too that are good enough to play for your ball club, and we'll see what happens. with all of that when it comes to recruiting, and we'll see what they want to do. But they're doing nice right now. They're really having a nice season, and we'll see them in the NCAA tournament. I'm pretty sure of it. I think they're going to go to the conference tournament, and I think they'll probably bang out 3 wins, and they'll get it there in the tournament, and maybe they upset a team or two. I mean, they beat Washington State on the road. They came back and never quit. So this is a team that's won a lot of close games on the road. So they're pretty solid. And I'm excited for them. UNM, nah, not so much. I mean, it's just like everything UNM does is putting them backwards. And as taxpayer-funded schools, I want them to succeed because they're asking for my money. And so if they're going to get my money, I want them to do well. That's all I'm saying. So with that being said, that's really my takes on those things, because I really, there's not much you can talk about there without getting into the dirt and the mud and the negativity of it all, because it is negative. But the point is it's the facts. And so I'm going to go on to my third take. I'm going to talk about the governor, some things that kind of, this legislator, I cringe when they get together. I'm going to talk about media a little bit, because there's a few things that frustrate me about them. And I might go on a rant. I don't know. But, to recap, Facebook, Instagram, my advice to you is protect your passwords. Change them. And be careful if you get an email saying, have you tried to log into your account? Don't go right away doing, changing your password, because that's how they got me. So be careful with the phishing emails, because they look just like they're from Facebook and Instagram. So be careful with that. And, keep your accounts separate from all the others. Keep your Facebook and Instagram separate from all the others. Don't use Facebook to log into something else, because you don't want these people, these nefarious people out there on the internet to get into that stuff, because they can make life a living hell. That's the bottom line. Just look at me. So I'll let you guys know when the next what happens next. If I start up another Facebook and Instagram, I'll go hard at it. I'll get as much content as I can up, and I'm hoping for your support. And I hope you appreciate the previous accounts, and love to hear from you again. Love to have you following me again, because I appreciated all you guys, and I love seeing your highlights, your picks, and I love talking to you, and when you message me and telling me about it, your son or daughter, things like that. It's great stuff. I love it. So, and I appreciate all that, and I hope we can converse again on those platforms. So, with that being said, I'm going to go to the third take. Here we go. Okay, so now we're on to the third take. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the governor and a few things that I've seen that kind of bother me, especially the legislator and the way the media has been behaving and those types of things. Because frankly, we're going through some crazy times. We have all these shortages, inflation's going up, and all this other stuff, and just people not presenting the facts or trying to hide the facts, and the way some people who have bothered to ask the questions have been treated. You look at my editor-in-chief, Mark Smith of Enchantment Sports, the way he's been treated for asking the questions and for breaking the big stories. He can't even get on local radio right now, and it's a joke. He's a standard of journalism in this state, and he, the way he's been treated is just it's just been disgusting, because he should be allowed to be out there asking the questions, and it's really frustrating to me me that he's been treated that way. And, especially if anybody who has a Facebook or Instagram account, if they ask any questions that are contrary to the narrative, then now they're being treated as pariahs or this and that, and everybody's turning into a bully. I mean, I've seen some stuff on Twitter that just makes me shake my head. I mean, one guy who is part of the media, well, some coach's wife has already threatened to ban him because he thought that the face coverings, wasn't very effective, and now she's threatening to ban him from their locker room or something like that. I mean, this is crazy. The way people are behaving as far as this whole situation is concerned. And we got to get back to a little bit of civility and start having a discussion and some discourse here. But you got other media people who are still advocating the bang bang like they're salesmen instead of journalists. It's interesting to me that you would take 3 bang bangs, 2 bang bangs, and then 1 super bang. We'll call it a B-bang. I have to use these words because then it affects me as far as, my reach and things if I use the actual words. So I got to talk in code and be cryptic. And that's the whole problem we have right now. But it's interesting to me that, somebody would take these bang bangs, they would get the thing, and they're still advocating for the bang bang. It doesn't make any sense to me because clearly, if you have it or don't have it, you're gonna get it either way. If you don't take the bang bang or you do take the bang bang, you're gonna get it either way. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a difference at all, and everybody's trying to peddle their statistics and this and that, and there's just so much confusion. But if you're going to go, and I'll use an example. If you're going to go to, to describe the bang bang, if you're going to take 3 of these, right, okay, to be fully bang banged, and you still catch it, why would you still promote it? That's like going to a mechanic a couple times and asking that mechanic to fix your car, but yet they don't fix your car. Would you still recommend that mechanic to fix somebody's car? You probably wouldn't do that at all. Or would you take a bang bang and sign a waiver saying that you can't go after them if it affects you? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you wouldn't buy a brand new car without a warranty, right? In case the thing breaks down as soon as you drive it off the lot. None of it makes sense to me. But I guess why would you be so, how can I say, why would you think that this thing would actually make you safer? Maybe it's because you've watched the media for the last 2 years and you saw these death counters. But now the data's coming out. Now the CDC's coming out and kind of breaking it down into segments. And so it's becoming more of an understanding of what's really going on. But we're not being told the full truth, in my opinion. That's where I'm going. We're not being told the full truth, and our media has a lot to do with that. I mean, when you see a journalist like Mark Smith being censored right and left because he's asking some serious questions, we have problems. If we cannot ask the questions and get the answers that we need to make intelligent decisions, we've got problems. And it's really sad. And now that we have a legislator that, I mean, these people are doing some interesting things. You've got one legislator, state rep, advocating for bang bang passports. Okay, I mean, what do you want to do? Set up Checkpoint Charlie between Santa Fe and Albuquerque? I mean, you got people advocating for that. You got others advocating for baby boxes. In case you hadn't heard this, Apparently, if somebody wants to abandon their child, they can put them in these boxes like they're Goodwill donations. I mean, the stuff that's coming out of the legislator is it's just nutty. It's crazy. And now we have the governor who is going and doing this little thing for optics where she's substitute teaching, okay? Well, let's just remember something here. I want to remind you of something. A year ago, she was going to the salon. She was buying jewelry. She was going against her own mandates, okay? She's going against her own deal, okay? She was just doing whatever she pleased while the rest of us had to stand in line at Walmart or wherever you shopped for groceries. You couldn't eat in a restaurant. Restaurants, 200 of them went out of business and probably won't ever come back. And a lot of small businesses went out of business because, well, they weren't essential. Remember that? Non-essential, essential? Well, now she's over here doing the substitute teacher thing, acting and pretending like she cares. I'm sorry, but her actions showed that she didn't when it was really tough going. Okay, she did her own thing. Her hair looked really nice. It really did. Great job, salon that did her hair. Really nice, okay? And then now they're doing all these little optics because they want to get elected. And my question to you, audience, you know, if we can't have good, honest journalism where they ask uncomfortable questions and get uncomfortable answers that may burst all our bubbles and may force us to have to put our biases aside, then what do we have? What do we have? That's where the problem is right now. We got to get to the truth of all of this because we got people believing one thing and people believing another thing, and it may not necessarily even be close to true. And we've got a lot of people losing their jobs, losing their lives, and we've got a lot of unfriendliness going on, and nobody's saying anything about it, really, not publicly, because you're getting censored right and left by these big tech companies that call themselves platforms. In case you don't know, a platform is where you put up information, and of course, you know, there's a few little guidelines, but it should be free speech, whereas they're behaving somewhat like a publisher who decides what you can and can't say, and this and that, and protected opinion. That's kind of what Facebook's been doing, is protected opinion. That's why they use these fact checkers who are third parties, and they admitted that they were protected opinion in the court of law. And so we have this this flow of information that is not getting through to the public where you can make an intelligent decision. And we have all these people playing these games, especially this legislator who's seems more intent on staying in power. I mean, they're talking about giving themselves, paying themselves. They're the only legislator that I understand doesn't get paid. And it's been that way since the beginning of the state, from what I understand. Now they want to get paid, and now they're working on that. They're working on getting paid now, and we have a governor who has got some allegations and things. In case you didn't know, she's paid out of her campaign funds for a groping, a sexual harassment situation. And the head of the spaceport at one time is now alleging that she's committed $200 million worth of fraud. And we'll see how that plays out. But there's a lot of things that aren't good going on in the state. That's what it comes down to, and it's trickling down and affecting the rest of us as far as our livelihoods and as far as our kids. And we don't have people who, we have a local media that seems to be, you know, everything's hunky-dory kind of thing and not really doing their jobs, you know, and that's where I'm getting at right now. And so we got to step up and we got to start speaking out. You know, a lot of people got to speak up and say their piece, and a lot of people got to get out there and start getting more and more involved with with our lawmakers and everything else, and challenging them when they come up with this stuff that's kind of communistic. Some of this is just straight up communistic and doesn't even belong in the United States of America. That's the truth. Baby boxes, we got to get rid of that. I'm sorry, but that's just crazy. And we got to get rid of these passport ideals and all this other stuff, because that's just super divisive, and there's plenty of proof that doesn't work, and we shouldn't even be thinking about that. Because if we look at other states, all the other states that are open prove that doesn't work. That's the bottom line. And we've got too much stuff going on right now, and people need to get out there and start speaking up. That's the truth. That's really what I'm getting at. I mean, I would go into more detail, and I would be more nuanced and more explanation, but you really can't do that on a platform like YouTube at all. I've discovered in the past that if you say things a certain way or this or that, you instantly get shadow banned. It instantly happens, and we've got to find ways to start speaking up against that type of censorship. We shouldn't have censorship in the United States. We really shouldn't. Okay, this should be a free and open society, and secrets should be repugnant in an open and free society. But unfortunately, as of right now, we don't really have that. And people need to start thinking and put their emotions aside and really looking at every issue and being willing to debate somebody that maybe have a difference than you, and we don't need to insult each other or anything of that nature, and let's just all put the pride away and get to some conclusions. And that's where I'm getting at with that, because if we don't do that, then we're eventually going to come to a point where we're going to really be at each other's throats, and who knows what that might be. Who knows what that might be. And so I'm going to get to something positive here, because I've said kind of my piece on that on the third take here as far as the governor is concerned. I really hope that we don't have to deal with this type of behavior too much longer, honestly. But it's up to you, okay? And I'm not saying to vote for this party or that party. I'm just tired of this behavior. I'm just tired of this behavior. And so we need to look for a better future, okay? And we need to reassess things and look in the mirror and calm down. Honestly, we will get through all of this. It will eventually, come a time when this will not be, okay? And we need to calm down. That's where I'm getting at, and we need to stop overreacting towards every single thing that comes up just because the media said so, okay? The multi-million-dollar media corporations. You need to go out there and start looking for answers. You have the tools in front of you. You have the internet. You have thousands upon thousands of pages. You need to be willing to go, that 15 page on that Google search and start asking some questions and stop automatically assuming things just because it came from this voice or that voice. You've got to be willing to look for the answers, and you've got to be willing to deal with those answers, even if it might go against your beliefs. That's what I'm getting at. And so this take is so much different from the others. I don't know how else to be positive with this type of stuff, but I do think, to get back to the season, I do think it's been really great for our kids, and I think we need to do everything we can to make this a really good, memorable year. And you can do that by showing up to games and going out there and supporting our kids as much as possible, fighting for them. Let's get rid of these things. They shouldn't be wearing them on that court anyways, okay? They shouldn't. Let's focus on these little things and start getting out there and having that debate, that discussion about whether these things are even safe. whether they're even healthy. And we need to get after it, and we need to really sit down and talk about it. I'll give you an example. New Mexico State had a really, really big discussion as far as whether they were going to do bang bang mandates for their games or not. They decided not to, but they sat down and they talked about it, and from what I heard, it was a very serious discussion. They went after it a little bit, but they came to a conclusion that they decided they weren't going to do it. So we can all do that as a state and as citizens of the state. We can definitely do that. Get down there and have this discussion and see and do the best we can for our kids and try to do better as a state, because right now we're dead last in a lot of things and there's no getting around that. But the future can be bright if we take action. You got to take action. So with that being said, I'm going to finish it off here. I thank you for watching, and I thank you for playing, and I'm hoping for a better future. You have a good night.